"Mummy, how could you do this to me of all the young men in this Lekki? It is the only man I love that you seduced, your daughter's fiancé." "Ah, Mom." How it started. In the busy city of Lekki lives Ada, a 50-year-old mother who refused to accept her age. Ada dressed like a 20-year-old, painted her lips red every morning, and wore short dresses that made people turn their heads. Her neighbors whispered behind her back, calling her Slay Queen Mama. But Ada only smiled and walked with pride. She believed life was too short to look old. Her daughter Alyssa, a kind and responsible young woman, begged her mother to slow down and live with dignity. "Mama, you are not a girl anymore," Alyssa would say. But Ada ignored her. Even her son Alex and her younger daughter Asam felt ashamed whenever their friends mocked their mother's behavior. Ada believed they were jealous of her beauty. Ada loved the attention she was receiving from young men. She would buy expensive clothes for some and give others money just to keep them close. The market women murmured each time she went to the market with boys young enough to be her son. When she passes on the street of Lekki, people couldn't stop gossiping, but to Ada, they were just empty vessels making noise. Alex, who was Ada's eldest child, gathered his siblings one evening in their sitting room and said, "We must talk to Mama again. People are laughing at us." But when they tried, Ada waved them away and reminded them that she was still their mother. "This is my life. I deserve some respect from all of you," she declared. Her words left the children helpless and worried. One sunny afternoon, Alyssa brought her fiancé home. His name was Ransom, a handsome and respectful young man who greeted Ada warmly. Ada was shocked by how good-looking he was, but she did not show it. She welcomed him with food and laughter, but deep inside her, an old desire began to stir. Later that night, Ada sat on her bed thinking about Ransom. She tried to push away the thought, but it grew stronger. "This is wrong," she whispered to herself, but her vanity whispered back, "You are still beautiful, and men still desire you." A week later, Alyssa traveled to Ghana for work, leaving Ransom in town. Ada invited him over under the excuse of discussing Alyssa's wedding plans. She wore her best dress and perfume. At first, Ransom hesitated, but Ada's flattery and charm weakened him. That night, they crossed a line they should never have crossed. The next morning, Ransom was filled with regret. Ada also felt uneasy, but her pride kept her silent. She told herself no one would ever find out. But secrets are like smoke, they cannot stay hidden forever. When Alyssa returned, she noticed a strange tension between her mother and her fiancé. One evening, while using Ransom's phone, she saw Ada's name on a message that made her heart stop. Trembling, she confronted Ransom, and tears filled his eyes. He confessed everything, unable to hide the shame any longer. Alyssa rushed back to their house with anger. Alyssa's cries shook the walls of their home. Alex and her siblings stormed into the room when they heard her screams. When they learned what had happened, they could not believe their mother would go that far to betray her own daughter. Ada tried to speak, but her children turned away in anger. "Mama, how could you?" Alyssa sobbed. Ada's heart broke as she watched the pains in her daughter's eyes. She had chased after youth and pleasure, only to destroy the trust of her own family. The next day, Ada sat alone in her room, staring at the mirror. The woman she saw no longer looked young or proud. She saw a broken mother whose choices had brought shame to her children. For the first time, Ada wished she could turn back the hands of time. Ada gathered her children and knelt before them. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she said, "I am sorry. I was blinded by vanity and foolishness. I forgot the value of family." Her voice shook as she begged Alyssa for forgiveness. At first, the children were silent. Then Alex spoke. "Mama, we still love you, but you must change. You cannot live like this anymore." Alyssa wiped her tears and nodded. Though the wound was deep, she knew forgiveness was the only path forward. From that day, Ada changed her ways. She began dressing modestly and stopped chasing young men. She started spending time with her children, cooking meals, and attending church. Neighbors were shocked at the new Ada, but she smiled humbly and said, "A foolish woman learns through pain." Over time, the family healed. Alyssa and Ransom worked on rebuilding their relationship. Ada never forgot the mistake she made, but she became a wiser and more responsible mother.